Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Uncharted 1 brutal difficulty video walkthrough. I don't know why I called it Uncharted 1, because it's not Uncharted 1, it's just Uncharted, although technically it's the first game, so you could call it the 1, but I hate that, and I hate the fact that I do that, so I'm sorry if you hate that too. But this is the customs house, and we're going to be moving into a couple of firefights. None of them are too ridiculous, but you know, this is a challenging game, so get used to coming up against some very interesting scenarios of immediate death and the punishment for ignorance. I love this though. One bullet kill to a headshot of a dude with a shotgun, who's technically kind of a heavy in this game, because he's a little stocky, and he acts differently, so his enemy type is different to the standard, you know, generic dude. And I love that. I love the way the combat feels in this one. It's funny, isn't it, how I've been so reticent to play after my bad experience, and then I've come back really enjoying it because I'm a different person now, and you know, my tastes are very different. I love Gears of War, but when it comes down to, you know, the shooting in these games, I would probably prefer Uncharted now, as hilarious as that sounds, because in the Gears of War games, they're designed around enemies taking a lot of damage. You know, you put a big clip of the Lancer into an enemy to put him down. You know, they're meant to, because the encounters were against a lot less enemies, so they had to take a beating to make them feel like they belonged there. And of course, if you get close with a shotgun, or if you're good with a sniper, or if you get like an active on your snub, you can alleviate some of that damage by killing people very quickly, and there's lots of different encounters where you can use cool stuff. But I like the immediacy of things dying that you get in games like Uncharted, so I would prefer perhaps that design philosophy, if not the game itself, because Gears of War 1 to me is one of the most majestic third-person shooters ever conceived. I think the design in that game is so wonderfully clever and well put together that it just has it has paradigms that have become archetypes for other developers, and that's how good it is. Like, there's a lot of Gears influence in this game, probably. Even though, did they come out quite close to each other? I'm not too sure of the dates. But suffice to say, it's interesting how you change and how your tastes change and your proclivities adapt the more you play. Like, I'm not that excited for Gears of War 4, even though I know I'm going to play it and I'm probably going to have a fun time, because I think they've done that game perfectly. I don't think you need to go back to it. I just don't see the point. Whereas Uncharted, I think because you play Uncharted a lot more for the story and for a lot of the, you know, the events and the encounters as much as where you are and the piece of history that you're in, this is a game that I think they can keep going back to. And that might be just me 100%. There's probably some crazy bastard out there who's playing Gears of War for the story that's like, we're going to find out about Marcus's father, come on now. You know, where did they come from? Why is Myra a human half-locusty thing? Is this some kind of strange bestiality? There's somebody who's writing his own fan fiction to get these answers. But on Gears, I always played Gears for the gameplay, like 100%, you know? And I think it is interesting to see that. How we approach different games. Like, some people, I look at it like this, you know, when somebody tells me that they play games for storyline and that story's the most important thing, it always makes me think of people who have sex for babies. Like, you're missing the greatest part of that activity. And of course, that isn't to say that I don't appreciate a good story. It just means that you're not going to come back to a game 50 times for the story. It's just not how this works. It's the gameplay that brings you back, and it's the gameplay that keeps you there. And story games are fantastic, and I do love the fact that story in games is getting better. But to me, prioritizing that stuff is just not the right direction for things, because you can only truly experience a great story once. Then after that, it's just nostalgia and member berries, if you saw the most recent South Park, you know, and they're fantastic and they're fine, and there's a lot of people that will do that and who will argue that that's perfectly fine. But to me, you know, I like to play games. Like, I'm playing Recall right now. Recall's a game that's getting absolutely shit on. Do you know why? Because it's a fucking game. You play. You do things that aren't sitting watching. And sure, the loading times are god-awful, and the frame rate's not very good. But you know the best way to put up with Recall's frame rate? Play a game with worse frame rate. I was playing Bloodborne, it has shit frame rate. I was in the Chalice dungeons against the Aberrant Beast in the Ailing Loran with all the particles, and it runs about 2 frames a second. I went to Recall, it felt like it was 60 frames a second. So the best way to quell a questionable frame rate is with games with worse frame rate. But then I come back to Uncharted and my eyes will bleed, of course, but there you go. Thank you for watching, guys, and you take care now.